Hey guys, Caused here. I'm going to be making this Elemental Showdown tutorial for new players who aren't that good at the game yet, or if you're just trying to get better. So the first thing is that there's three different elements that you can choose. So we have Rock, which has increased defense, Liquid has increased speed, and Flame has increased damage. So each element has its like own buff. And then up here we have skill trees for each elements. So you can choose things to level up and they'll give you like specific buffs and they'll really help you. And then here's the shop. It resets every hour and you can buy like emotes and stuff and stances. And then one of the most important things are tasks. So here for tasks, if you complete these, you can get a bunch of rewards and they can make leveling up and getting money a lot easier. And once you complete a task, a green check mark will appear right here, like on the top right corner of the task. And you just have to click the check mark until it goes away, and then you'll get rewards. And then just keep completing these quests and you'll level up really fast. And then down here you have casual and ranked. Casual has no elo, so you won't lose anything if you play it, but it has skill tree. So the stats that you invest in the skill tree will show in casual, but in ranked there's elo which you gain or lose if you win or lose, but there's no skill tree, and skill tree is disabled in ranked. Alright, so first we're gonna go over the basics of combat. There are like 4 major controls you need to know for the basics of combat. So the first one is M1 or left click, and it throws out a light attack, which does decent damage, but it can also be parried by your opponent twice. And if your opponent parries your light attack twice, then it turns into a heavy, and it'll block break you. So do that real quick. And bam, it block breaks me. So if it gets parried twice, you're forced to dodge it. The next major control is a heavy attack, which it moves slower, but it does more damage, and it block breaks your opponent. So hold block, and as you can see, it block breaks him. The next one is Q. The next control is Q, which you can use to dodge. So fire an attack at me.
1 minute left.
If your opponent fires an attack and you press Q, it'll dodge it. And it's also good for dodging heavies, since you can't block them. And the last thing is F. So I'm gonna hold F and that blocks. Throw the light attack at me and it doesn't do any damage. And if you time it correctly, like a bit before it's about to hit you, you can also parry an attack. So fire at me. And if you parry twice, it'll block break them. It'll turn to a heavy, so they'll have to dodge it. And that's it for the basics. Alright, now I'm gonna be explaining how the point system works. So you and your team will spawn in zone 1 and the other team will also spawn in zone 1. So your goal is to knock the enemy team back and eventually get them into the water. If you manage to get all of the enemy team into the water before the time runs out, then you'll gain 2 points and you automatically win the game. Now, if you're fighting the enemy team, but you can only get them back to zone 2 or to zone 3, or you can't knock all of them off in time, then you'll only gain 1 point. The last way to gain a point is that if your team and the enemy team are both in zone 1 with an equal amount of players, then a coin will be flipped by the referee, and whoever wins the coin flip gets to pick an element to 1v1. and then they'll be raised up on a small platform, and whoever wins the 1v1 gets a point. So this is
Looks
what
like the
a
liquid
showdown looks
elementals
like.
will be slugging it out in tonight's showdown.
So you guys get raised on this platform, and then we gotta fight.
The round ends in a draw. It's time for a head-to-head showdown to settle the winner.
And then you get 1 point. Alright, so as of now, this game has 4 combos, and combos can be used to like apply pressure on the opponent or like do more damage. So the first combo I'm going to be showing you guys is 2 jabs and then a heavy.
1 minute left to go.
You can also find the combos in the game description. The next combo is you hit spacebar and then heavy, and then it throws out a slower heavy which does more damage, like that. So the next combo is probably the most complicated, but you want to do 2 heavy attacks, and then 2 lights, and then another heavy, and then it'll do a sweep, which can one-shot or almost one-shot your opponent. Alright, the last combo is a barrage. So what you want to do is you do 3 light attacks, and then you dodge, and then you do 3 more lights, and then it'll send 2 extra jabs at them, and it'll do extra damage. And those are all the combos. Alright, so here it's me and my friend and one of the current champions against the highest level and 2 of his friends. So one of the most important things is knowing how to move around, because the harder you are to hit, the harder it is to push your team back. And being able to just like stay alive for a really long time can win your team a game, or it can help you clutch matches. Another thing is that you can actually do a crit as you're parrying an attack. So it's really good for like for following up and confusing the opponent, because they might try to parry the jab, but then the the heavy coming right after it might block break them. And then another thing is being really aware. You have to be aware, because if your opponent does a critical and you don't notice that it's a critical and then you try to block it, and you're gonna get block broken. And if you get block broken, you can get comboed. So you kind of want to like try to look at all 3 of your opponents at the same time and see what attacks they're doing. And like, if you notice that the person you're fighting has a really good defense, and then you could just switch onto someone else using the E key, and then try focusing them. And one other thing is that if someone is against the ropes, it's much harder to dodge. So it's really good to target people who are against the ropes. That's it for this tutorial, and the the best way to improve that I can recommend is just keep on practicing. Make sure to sub.